reason I'm most proud is this is an individual who's extremely principled, accountable, and honestly believes in transparency in government. It's somebody who particularly I've watched over the past year and a half reach out to help salvage this economy of ours and try to do it by also helping reach out to the other side. I told the story recently about sitting in a caucus as the Maelstrom had come about, and Mr. Paulson, Secretary Paulson, had actually asked the Congress to help save this economy for what eventually became the TARP program. When I voted for that bill, September 23rd, 92% of all the emails and letters I had received said, don't dare vote for that bill. But the objective analysis showed that this bill was absolutely vital. And I'm still convinced today that the failure of that first vote moved us from financial crisis to financial panic. But there was one individual who would stand up at all times and in his very deliberate way move us towards saving this economy. He stood up in a Democratic caucus. He had been working very closely with Secretary Paulson, knowing that what was most important was not party, it was this nation. And as people got up to critique harshly at times that a certain party had placed us here, Mr. Paulson should bear the brunt of this, he just stopped them and said, no, I need to work on this issue. I don't need the polemics right now. I just need us to work together to help salvage this nation's economy. He came up to me a period ago, weeks, months ago, and said, Joe, I will do whatever I can to help support you. Just let me know. He spoke up in support of my candidacy, and then he approached me again and said, please let me know how I might support you. I'm very proud here to have Barney. Yes, because he helped save this nation's economy as the leader in the House of Representatives, I believe, truly in Congress across the board. And second, if I could, I've had Barney Frank up before here in my previous campaigns, and I look very much forward to the day to stand next to him on issues like don't ask, don't tell, are finally thrown overboard, and DOMA is repealed. In my frank mind, he stands exactly for what I defended this nation for 31 years, that everyone is created equal, and that principle and accountability in politics matters, that it's not about saving one's job, it's about what's doing right for this nation. So Barney, thank you for being here today very much.
I'm a volunteer here. When Representative Joe was planning to run in the primary for the Senate seat, now held by our inspector, I approached him and said I wanted to help. I regard Joe as one of the most valuable members of Congress. His military background is of great importance because getting our military policy right, getting our military spending right is essential. And I know of no one who has a better handle on that than Joe Sestak, and no one who can make the argument for sensible reductions in some past spending patterns with better credibility than Joe. No one can doubt his determination to make sure this country is fully defended in the best possible way. But he also has, as he said, a background in economics that is especially important right now. And his role on the Small Business Committee couldn't be more important than it is today. Small business has taken the brunt of this recession, the credit crunch that is caused by the big institutions has fallen with very unfair force on the smaller institutions. And the Small Business Committee in general, and Joe in particular, have played an important role. It's hard to make the case in some ways because things are still bad. They're not nearly as bad as they would have been. I believe, frankly, we are on our way to get out of the recession that President Obama inherited. And there were some tough choices that have been made and are being made. And you don't always win on this one initially, but things would have been a lot worse and are going to be getting better thanks in part to the work that the Small Business Committee is doing, that Joe is so much a part of. I also very much appreciate his support, for instance, on the don't ask, don't tell issue. We have people who've never been anywhere near the military pontificating on that. As Vice Admiral of some of the commanded ships, Joe is in a position to refute that argument. So in general, I am delighted to have him there, and I particularly admire his taking on the tough job. He could have stayed in a safe seat. It was very clear to people that if Joe Sestak decided to run for election, that would have been just taken for granted. It would have happened. I think the challenge he's making is a very important one. As we deliberate now, one of the things that we're told is we have this terrible problem because states and the cities that are part of the states, obviously, are hurting financially. And while we gave them some aid in the economic recovery bill, it wasn't enough, and it's running out. We have to renew it. One of the things that most disappointed me earlier this year was when the House, Joe and I were in, voted an economic recovery bill that had $25 billion more in aid to the states than finally become law. The fact is that Senator Specter, along with Senators Snowe and Collins, took credit for knocking $25 billion out of that bill. That's $25 billion in aid to the states. That's police officers and firefighters and teachers and sanitation workers and other people who would have been working. That would have been both more jobs and a better quality of life. So I was very pleased that Joe bucked the political establishment and decided that it was important to give the people a choice in this Democratic primary of a man who has been committed in an effective way to the things that the Democratic Party stands for at its best. So that's why I'm so glad to be here.